What is up, my friends? My name is Josh, also known as TheJoshWatson, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make incredible YouTube thumbnails that are going to get people clicking on them, and the process that I use to create my thumbnails for my gameplay videos. Give it a thumbs up if you're excited, and I'm going to jump right into this process. Alrighty, so you can see here on screen I have got this thumbnail, which is actually for my live stream this evening. We're going to be doing the sniper rifle only challenge, and so I have this thumbnail that I've already created. I'm going to walk you through the entire process that I use to create a thumbnail like this. Obviously, this is one style of thumbnail. There's lots and lots of different ways to create thumbnails out there, but this should give you some basic ideas of how I do my thumbnails. So let's go through this process step by step. So first thing, obviously I'm in Photoshop. But there are a lot of programs out there that you can use to create the same effect. If you're looking for free ones, I will leave some links down in the description if you don't have Photoshop to some Photoshop-like things that are free, so definitely go check that out. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to create a new thing. Doesn't matter what we title it, 1920 by 1080. That is the size that I recommend. That's just, standard HD. So obviously we can make this bigger and smaller. I actually like to work on my thumbnails kind of a mid-size, but once I have the thumbnail created, I actually like to look at it pretty small just to make sure that it, that it looks good, small and big, because lots of people are going to see it in those different sizes. So, but I like to work on my thumbnail in kind of a mid-range thing. Now, this thumbnail is for Revelations, which is a zombies map, and so on my desktop I have a couple things that I've gone out and collected beforehand, or I have just a nice picture of Revelations. I found this on Google. Another great way to get pictures like this is just through taking screenshots of your own gameplays, and so, but anyway, I'm going to drag that onto here. You can see this is a little bit smaller. It's actually not as small as it makes it look like it is, but we're just going to stretch this to fit. It won't really matter because it's not going to affect it at all, really. We need to make it a little bit bigger so it can actually fit the canvas exactly. There we go. Okay, so then we are going to, this is the base of what we are doing here. This is, our background of everything that we have. So now we have the other elements that we had the sniper rifle there, which I have a PNG of that. Let me find that real quick. So if you don't have these files already, which I'm assuming you don't, what you're going to do, is if you want a gun in here, you're going to Google something along the lines of, like this is the Locust sniper rifle. So you're just going to go to Google, you're going to type in Locust PNG. That's a file format that has that clear background so that you can get that nice sharp edges around here to make sure it looks nice. So then we're going to position that about where we want it. Looks pretty good. So now there's this thing in Photoshop called blending options, which is all the way up here at the top. This gives you lots and lots of different options that you can use, but the one that we're going to be focusing on is the stroke. That's going to give it, it's black right now, so we're going to change it to white, but that's going to give it that outline there. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. That's just going to help it stand out from the background so that it doesn't, so that it really catches your eye. And the other thing we're actually going to add, we're going to go back to blending options. We're going to add a little bit of a drop shadow just to get it to stand out even more. And then I'm actually going to make it a teeny bit bigger. There's going to be lots of adjusting going on here as we go through the process. But I'll just walk you through. And once we have all the elements, then I'll walk you through how I adjust things. So then we're going to type out our sniper only. And we're going to use the transformation tool to kind of resize this to about where we want it. Somewhere around there looks pretty good. So now obviously that's not the color that we want. Yellow is not a great color. We also want a drop shadow, which I'm going to just make some adjustments here. On these type of things you'll want to mess around with on your own and get good at, because this is not so much a Photoshop tutorial. It's more of just how to make thumbnails, if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, I definitely recommend going out and learning Photoshop or Gimp or whatever it is that you're working on. Now, next, we are going to pull in the Revelations logo. Again, I got this off the internet. I actually had to cut it out myself just because it was hard to find it. But if you guys are really having a hard time finding PNGs like this, let me know and I can see if I'm able to just, give you a download link for the ones that I've already created, things like this. And so, anyway, we're going to put that there. And then we're actually going to make this sniper only a little bit bigger. We're just going to put in all the elements, and then I'll kind of walk you through the process. But like I said, this is not the color that we want. Yellow is not a great color. I actually like to use gradients. So I've got a number of gradients here that I've created myself. The one that I use the most is this green to yellow because it's very eye-catching, very good for that. But first we're going to rasterize the layer. That just converts it into pixels instead of a smart object. And then we are going to use this tool to select it specifically. Then we're going to go back to our gradient tool, and and then we are going to drag a gradient across the entire thing so that it gets that nice green to yellow effect there. Now, obviously I'm going through a lot of this really, really quickly, but like I said, this is not so much an actual Photoshop tutorial. If you guys want a true Photoshop tutorial where I can teach you really simply step by step how to do these things, let me know and I'm happy to make those videos, but this is more just to work on more of those design elements. So, last thing we're going to do is obviously I have a screenshot of myself. Basically, I go and I use my camera function on my webcam, and I take these pictures of myself making these weird faces. I really like to use these a lot because they are very eye-catching. Just psychologically speaking, faces kind of draw attention to them, and people like to look at faces. And so that's one thing that you're definitely going to want to do, is include faces in your thumbnails as often as you can. Obviously, I'm going to flip it this way because you never ever want like your eyes to be like up against the edge here. Hang on. No, stop. There we go. Okay, so if I put it on this side, like I'm just looking at the edge of the thing here. You always want to be looking, if you're putting a face in your thumbnail, you always want it to be looking towards the center of the thing. So even if I was to like put myself up in the corner up here, I'd want to be looking down. I wouldn't want to like put myself in the corner over here and be looking up. Obviously, you can't see my eyes because I'm behind the Revelations logo, but if I hide that, it's like that just looks weird and awkward. So you want to make sure that that if you're putting faces in your thumbnail, that they're in a place that makes sense. Now, what I would do at this point, I'm going to use this polygon lasso tool, and I would go and like cut around my entire thing right here, and it takes a very long time and it's very time intensive. I'm not going to spend the time to do that. What I am going to do is just grab the one that I've already cut out because I've already have this done, and so we're going to and then we're just going to hide that one. So that one's already cut out, and then the other thing that I have done is I've actually put a little bit of a drop shadow on there just to help myself stand out a little bit from the background. Now I'm going to move myself below the lotus because I don't want to be covering that up. Then we kind of just position it to where we want it to be, right about there. Maybe angle a little bit more so it just draws a little bit more attention to itself. Somewhere around there. This looks a little bit different from the one I just created, but you guys get the basic idea. And so then what I'll always do before I upload a thumbnail is I'll zoom way out and look at it really small and see, does this make sense? Is this eye-catching? And actually, the thing that I notice now as I zoom out on this version of it is that this sniper rifle, it does not stand out enough. And so I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger, move it up a little bit, and then I'm actually going to adjust the stroke a little bit, make that just a little bit bigger, somewhere around right about there. So that just helps it stand out a little bit. And then I think I'm actually going to adjust this sniper only down. There we go. Okay. So now this is looking pretty good. This is a pretty good thumbnail. It's eye-catching. It's got a face. I'm making a funny expression that kind of intrigues you. It says sniper only in there, and so it really, it's got Revelations. We can see in the background it's got that classic Revelations look to it, so it's going to catch people's eye and really, like, they're going to know exactly what they're looking at. And so really this is the basics of how I create my thumbnails. Like I said, there's a lot of design that goes into it, and so if you guys are not designers, if you don't know a lot of the technical side of Photoshop and you want those sort of tutorials, let me know. Obviously, this is not a tutorial channel, but I'm happy to do a couple of little simple tutorials for you guys to kind of learn how to use these type of programs, and kind of just start thinking more about those design sort of things. But my main pieces of advice are, don't use complicated fonts. For most of my thumbnails, I use Arial Black. This is a very bold, very simple font, easy to read. A lot of the time I see people using like skinny little fonts that are hard to read, and it's just, you don't want to do that. Other thing I recommend is always, if you're going to put text in your thumbnails, always put a drop shadow on it. That is this effect here, where, let me toggle it on and off. So like you can see there's sniper only there, but when I put the drop shadow on, it's got that big, bold, like black shadow behind it. That just makes it stand out from the background. On the Revelations thing up here, you can see the same thing. It's like, yeah, you can kind of read Revelations, but when I put that drop shadow on it, it really helps it stand out and make it really easy to read. Even with myself, like my little face of myself, I put just a bit of a drop shadow on it just to help myself stand out from that background. And same thing with the locust, just a bit of a drop shadow, and then I do have that stroke, which helps it stand out even more. If you're having a hard time getting things to stand out with a drop shadow, even like with my my face here, you could go in and put a stroke on it. This stroke is black, so that's not helpful. You always want a white stroke because it's going to really help things stand out. And so you can do that, and that's not a bad thing. But right now, on this one, we don't need it because I stand out nice and clean from the background anyway. And so it's really just things that you're really trying to draw attention to that you're going to put that stroke around. And so basically, this is how you create these kind of crazy, really eye-catching thumbnails. And they're not the most clean-looking things, but they're really attention-grabbing, and they really, really get people kind of intrigued. You definitely, whenever you have the opportunity, you want to get people intrigued to go, hang on, that looks interesting. Why, what is that? To leave them with a question of like, hang on, what is this? The last thing I'll tell you guys is, does your thumbnail tell a story? That's one of the things I always try to think about when I'm creating a thumbnail. Does it tell a story? This one is actually probably not the best example ever of it, but my facial expression is giving you a little bit of something there, and then obviously we've got the sniper rifle here. and the revelations and the sniper only. So this is telling a little bit of a story of like what's going on. This one is doesn't leave you with so much of a question, but it more intrigues you of, wow, is he really going to play Revelations with sniper rifles only? So that's just kind of some of the basics of what I would say if you're kind of looking to create thumbnails. Anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this tutorial and found it informative. I definitely want to do just the occasional thing like this, just to, kind of like my setup video and other things like that, just to kind of let you guys know how I do all of my thumbnails, how I do all of my videos. I'm going to do another tutorial sort of thing on how I edit my videos when I do pre-recorded videos, just to kind of show you guys. Again, I use pro software like Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm using Photoshop in this one, and so those softwares are a little bit harder to attain for just regular old people, but there are free softwares out there, and I have left some of those down in the description for this. There's a fantastic software out there called Gimp, which is basically exactly like Photoshop, except it's free. It's not quite as powerful, but it does a lot of the same things, so I definitely recommend checking that out. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed and found this useful. I'm the Josh Watson. I will see you guys on my next video.